you. This is Danielle with the Motivity Podcast. I'm your host, Danielle, and I have Adam Schaefer here, who is a TSA, and Adam will go into exactly what a TSA is, from Cisco. And he focuses just in one of our major pillars, which is collaboration. And everyone knows collaboration, understands collaboration. But what we're going to get into are a few hot topics. We're going to get into interoperability. We're going to get into hybrid working and going back into the office. And what does that mean, right? How do you start communicating internally, externally, have fluid meetings? But we're going to kick it off with Adam's background and how he got into Cisco, because I heard the best story I think I've ever heard of getting a job and getting hired. So we'll start there. But first of all, hi, Adam. How are you today?
Doing well. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks.
You're welcome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Adam, tell us a little bit, tell us about your title first. I spoke about what is a TSA, but what does a TSA mean to a client? What does a TSA mean to your qualification and, your expertise here at Cisco?
Absolutely. Yeah. So TSA, Technical Solutions Architect, is essentially I kind of bridge the gap between the customer, right, the needs that they have, as well as the technology, right? Because technology is really only good when you find a specific use for it that solves your business problem. So I kind of bridge that gap between the technical nuts and bolts and really the application that the business is trying to solve for.
Oh, nice. So we could get a little technical on the call. About collaboration.
Do, yeah.
All right. I like it. So tell us how you got hired at Cisco, because I think first that was the funniest story. I don't think anyone has done this. I've never heard a story like this, but just tell us what happened. How did you do it? And, how you're in your seat today.
Sure. So I actually started as a solutions architect, which is kind of the broad Cisco portfolio. And the solutions architect role or technical solutions architect role, both of them are sort of sales and engineering and solution design, all those things rolled into one.
And you're right with the sales piece. Like when you're an engineer, you support the sales team, right? To articulate and help them understand how to buy technology or deploy technology in their environment. And you need, two pieces to that. You need, I think the engineer always keeps the salesperson honest a little bit. And so, but in your role, you meet with clients constantly, you hear, their use cases, right? And you try to drive outcomes for them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. What is the technology is no good without an outcome to solve for is probably a great way to say it. So I actually came from the customer side of things. We used Cisco stuff. It had a Cisco logo on it. I worked with it from a technical perspective, but I didn't have I wasn't on the other side of it, right? I wasn't selling technology. I wasn't building solutions. I was just managing our own. So I talked with some folks at Cisco, right, doing my due diligence, and said, well, what does it look like to get into Cisco? What do I need to know? And of course, they gave me kind of the well, you should have.
It's already thinking about it.
You should have experience doing what we do at Cisco. So they told me what that was, right? Solution selling, designing solutions, right? Doing that type of thing. And of course, I'm sitting at my desk at the customer, just plunking away on the CLI. So I was out of my element, right? So anyway, I went and I found the job description of what it looked like to be at Cisco. And
easy enough, right? Go on LinkedIn, find a job description. That should be easy.
LinkedIn, Glassdoor, all those sites, get the good, the bad, the ugly.
Right. It does tell you the good, the bad, the ugly. That's a good play right there. And those are great websites. Glassdoor is a little scary, but if you
well, right. So I'm like, well, geez, I got to figure out how to come up with this experience. So it took some thought, but I'm like, I'm going to just start a company, and I'm just going to make my company where I do what it says on this resume or on this job description.
Right. I'm just going to resell technology and come up with solutions.
So I mean, how hard could it be, right? So I went to a lawyer, I made an LLC and,
LegalZoom.com.
I didn't know what it was. I was like, can I just LegalZoom the right way to do it? So I go to a lawyer, they talk me through all kinds of things. And of course, if you talk to a lawyer, they give you the good, the bad, and the really ugly. So you're nervous about that. We got all that squared away, and I became a small VAR or reseller, I guess you could say. And I was it depends on who I talked to as what my title was, right? Senior architect, president, CIO. But I essentially did all of those functions. I got really good with QuickBooks and the whole nine.
So Adam
I did
so Cisco cannot sell direct technically. Like for most corporations, we work with resellers. We have to sell through a reseller. So meaning there's always someone else at the table with us to help facilitate the PO processing, do like order fulfillment, product fulfillment. So Adam's like, oh, let me just go start my own, and then I could get the exact experience that I need to get this job.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is Cisco is reluctant to hire from their partners because their partners
is true.
are
that is
their
the true state,
right?
We don't want to we don't want to take people from the field, even though I came from the field, but I came from collaboration when collab was a little small piece of this puzzle. But you're right, Adam. We don't always want to take from the field because that's our selling arm, right? Why would we take people out in the field that are already proficient selling a certain technology?
Exactly. Yeah. So now, of course, that conversation was a little bit easier coming from the partner that I was at because I was
a one-man shop.
The guy that, you didn't have to answer to anyone other than me.
Now, Adam, did you get clients? Like, did you have clients buying from you?
I had enough clients that I could look the interviewer in the face and say that I had clients. Yes. No, I did. I had a couple places that I worked for in the past that I went back and I did some consulting for. I think I sold, it wasn't a whole lot. It was definitely not a whole lot. It was some VPN licenses and a couple routers and some stuff like that. So it was enough to understand the process.
Right.
And I had a good time doing it. Right?
And you understood, right, the process of putting deals and looking at deals in CCW, right? And those go to the Cisco rep and, you figured out how to work with that account team and they come in and you place orders and then you figured out problems that the customer had and you had to figure them out, which was VPN licenses at the time.
Exactly. Yeah. We did a couple cool projects. And the interesting thing was I had a good relationship with all the places I worked in the past up until that point. So when they figured out that I was doing this stuff, they're like, oh, well, our environment. Why don't you just come back and, help us out with this? So it was quite the experience. I actually didn't know how it was going to go when I started. And it was like a really good experience. I'm kind of glad I did it that way.
Well, your entrepreneurial spirit came out, right? You started, a VAR as a reseller. And you learned what it was like to be on the other side of the table and who we work with and what we all do day in and day out. Let me ask you a question. Is it the same, like you being on the other side of the table now being inside of Cisco? Is it the same? What have you learned? Maybe what advice can you give clients who are working with VARs?
Well, so I will say that a strong VAR is just, it's a must, right? You want someone to partner with you to tell you the truth about what you're getting into, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So VARs are really valuable from that perspective. They know the ins and the outs. They know the ins and outs of Cisco. They know they know how to get stuff done, and a lot of VARs can help you. If you're moving to Cisco from another platform, they can help you do that, right? There's a lot of ways that you can get yourself in trouble. How do we move users? How do we make this seamless? How do we move our data? Those types of things. So the VARs are spectacular, and they all have their niches. But yeah, I can't say enough about the partner community. Having been a partner, it kind of gave me a different perspective on it as well.
If someone wanted to start a business and become a VAR, what advice would you tell them? Would you tell them to go for it?
I would say find a niche, find something that you're really good at, and kind of launch from there before you try to go, way deep into it. Find that technology, whether it's collaboration or, Meraki stuff or enterprise, something like that.
Cloud or maybe focus on a pillar.
Exactly. Yeah. And then, build that brand around that and expand from there.
Yes.
As you hire people on and that type of thing, you'll get some recognition that way. But start small. I mean, everybody starts at the beginning. So
you got to start somewhere.
Yep. And away you go.
Well, congratulations on getting hired. So what's your favorite pillar at Cisco?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a collab TSA, so I love the collaboration stack. Just what it does. I think a lot of this stuff is sort of out of sight, out of mind, right? Like most users don't think about their network, although it's very important. They don't think about wireless, although they might see the access points on the ceiling. The
That's true.
collaboration stuff is in front of you every day.
Mm-hmm.
It should be in front of you, but it shouldn't be in your way, if that makes sense. So
that's a great, yeah. And we're going to get back to it shouldn't be in your way, because that was a great sentence. But tell us what's in the collaboration stack. What does it mean? To have this pillar, what technology is included in it, and give advice to a client that's thinking about, this journey, this collaboration journey, or this, working environment that they have for this employees. Tell them what are the pieces included as we say it, but I don't want to answer the question. You're going to answer it.
Sure. So, more of the legacy type of flow processes is, calling. How do I make a call? How do I get people on the phone and answer questions that way? We still do calling. We do calling really well globally, whether it's to handsets or to your soft client on your computer. But then it also brings in meetings, video endpoints to enhance that meetings experience, right? Because I'm not going to go into what happened in the world the past 2 years or whatever, but a lot of people have been behind their computer looking at their team, through some type of meeting software. But what Cisco does, I think that's unique, is it takes that calling, meetings, devices, even contact center, and it's one provider, one experience, and it kind of brings it all together, right? Because you don't just do meetings, or you don't just do calling, you just don't sit in front of a video endpoint, right? You do all of that. So being able to go from one to the other and have a consistent user experience, it's important, right? It has to be easy to use and fun to use and everything like that.
So talk about, what does it mean when you have one consistent experience? What does that mean, for an employee working at a company? What is that actually, how do we go about doing that? How did we showcase that it's one experience? To me,
well, I think,
explain it to the listeners.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think probably the easiest example is, you have we have the unified Webex client now, right? Calling is in there, meetings are in there, messaging is in there. That's a great example, right? You can be messaging, right click the person's name and call them, or, click in the corner and say, schedule a meeting with this group of people I'm talking to, right? And move from one thing to the next very quickly. Again, so that the collaboration tools aren't in your way. Whereas if you have a different mix of products, you might have to, make a meeting here, copy the link over there. Things get lost in translation. There still ends up being a lot of emails that fly around. So I think one experience where you bring as much together as you can is very important.
What do you think the biggest benefits are to having, a solid unified experience inside, your company? What are the top benefits, top 3 benefits, 4 benefits?
I would say user experience, so that the experience is consistent. The training that you give them is consistent. I would also say maybe when you cross the divide from one vendor to another, there's always security concerns, right? How does that data get from one cloud to the other, or on-prem to cloud, or what have you? So I think security is another one. And then, 3, I would say a third one maybe is, just flexibility and even interoperability, right? When you have a platform that's very, very robust, but you still have the hooks into other solutions when you need to, I think that's important as well. And I think Cisco does a pretty good job with that, right? Because there's a lot of stuff out there to interoperate with. But
right. So talk about interoperability, like from a maybe not a front end experience that people see, and we talk about interoperability. Just go into this for a second. That there's a lot of platforms out there, right? Even from a conferencing or a collaboration standpoint, right? You have Zoom, you have Microsoft, you have GChat or Gmail, the Google platforms. And then you have Webex. So what does that mean to be interoperable? You have Blue Jeans, right? I know. I'm sure there's more that I'm just not thinking about, but
there's so many.
I know. Okay. So
everybody has one. And sometimes it's like rebranding someone else's, but really there's a couple different things. One, from a technical perspective, is a standard like interface to do things, right? Or a standard set of APIs or a standard set of ways of doing things, protocols and those types of things.
Yep.
A lot of that has gone by the wayside just with rapid development, right? Microsoft and Zoom, to interoperate, just kind of, it's tough to do. However, what Cisco has done is found ways to actually go in and in fact do that, right? Whether it's WebRTC, which is essentially a meeting in your browser,
Okay.
is in simple terms how the technology works. Cisco obviously has a lot of stake in industry standards. So
Yep.
the SIP protocol, Session Initiation Protocol, which was, voice over IP is built on that. Video is also built on that, and it's a very widely known standard. We can build. Cisco has built adapters into these other platforms. While some of them, Zoom has their own. We have CV, what's called Cisco Video Interop for Microsoft. And again, other platforms have different ways to interop as well. But whatever the methodology is, Cisco has found a way, particularly with video endpoints, which are really great video experience. How can we use this great piece of technology to then connect into whatever meeting platform it is? A lot of organizations have a bunch of meeting platforms, or they have vendors with different meeting platforms. So it is very top of mind for pretty much everyone at this point.
Yeah, and talk about what it's like to be what is it like to be working at Cisco? Do we have issues joining meetings? Do we have any issues, meeting with anyone? Like, talk about that experience, because we're very fortunate that we have these great technologies at our fingertips, but not everybody has that. So talk about that. Talk about how fluid it is. Sending out meeting invites. Maybe you could kind of talk about, our at Webex thing that we could put in our calendar invites.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
there's a lot of we have a lot of little pieces that we're allowed to use, but we meet daily, right? We meet internally, externally. We send out invites. We use Webex Teams. I mean, we are constantly collaborating and talking and chatting. But talk about, maybe your top features that you like, Adam.
Sure. So I'll say this about the interoperability as we switch gears. Interoperability is great. However, our stuff with our stuff is impossible to beat, right?
Correct.
The ability to, and we do interoperate, I guess, by default with Microsoft, right? You go into Microsoft
Correct.
Outlook.
And Cisco is a Microsoft, Outlook customer. We use SharePoint, so we interact with all those platforms,
exactly.
Right? So it's known, it's out there. We talk about it. But the experience and how we work I think it's just so fluid and so easy that it is hard to beat. But you could talk about it from a technical perspective.
It's very hard to beat. Yeah. So, I mean, like scheduling a meeting, right? You have, I don't know, half a dozen ways that you could do it. The simplest is, that workflow everyone's used to. Go into Outlook, we can use at Webex and just put that in the location field, and it pulls your personal meeting room information right into the invite. Name everybody, internal and external, hit send, and away it goes.
And your personal meeting room is kind of like your room that's always open. So that's, mine is, a short link with my last name. So that's a meeting link I use constantly. That's my room. I could just send it out. It's ad hoc, scheduled, no problem. But, and you can add barriers if you need levels of security into that personal meeting room. Like if you have to add a password, or I could lock my meeting room door and no one could get into my room. But
you can admit everyone from the lobby.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
lot of functionality, right? I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and it's very synonymous with the real world too, right?
Yep.
If you say, I mean, maybe in years past, come meet me at my office, and people get there and the door's closed, they wait until you open the door and let them in, right? So it's meant to be simple and easy to understand. Whether you're meeting though on a desktop or a laptop, mobile phone, even video endpoints, though the experience is
the same.
The experience is the same. It's very similar to the end user, no matter what platform they're on, which makes it very approachable, and usability and just the overall joy of the meeting experience goes way up.
Right. And we talk a lot about interoperability, and we really mean that from an endpoint perspective. You could deploy endpoints and join other platforms' meetings. We're keeping it open for that reason. So there isn't, breaks in the workflow, right? You should be able to just come to your meeting, schedule a meeting, join. there shouldn't be, oh, well, where are we meeting? Where are we going? Do we have to be? And I think everyone should be on video. We're on video a lot. I think it really enhances the meeting experience, but that's just my opinion. But let's talk about, the hybrid workforce, people going back to the office. What does that mean? Like if you own a company, let's say a small business company, where would you have them start? What would you have them test? What would you have them look at? And maybe you could talk about burnout a little bit, because I know we're doing a lot with analytics. So.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll say hats off to whoever it is that has to make that decision, right? Because there's so many companies in so many different places with the whole thing.
Right. I wouldn't want to make that decision either, who has to come back and who doesn't. But people are. Some people want to go back to the office to see each other,
sure,
which makes sense. But you also want them to be able to do their job fluidly. And so what does that mean, right? You want them to go back and be proficient, but you want them working with the proper tools. And the tools are key. And I think as people, we had the Great Recession, right, was a big thing. Well, they're asking what tools companies are using to meet, right? They don't want barriers on meeting anymore.
Right.
And so I think you have to think about that as a business owner. Really, what is that experience like? But, you could go through it a little bit further.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so I think there's a statistic. It's roughly mid 90s, right? A percent of number of meetings that will have at least one remote participant. Right. So the world has changed. We used to have the meetings where like, hey, everybody show up Monday morning. We want to see you here.
Kick off.
Yeah.
Do this, do that. Don't do this. I used to get my butt kicked.
Well, and the cool thing about that is it's cool it's good to be together, right? The water cooler talk, the team building, going to lunch is fantastic. But it's not the reality, right? Some people have to take kids to school, or they are on a meeting remotely somewhere, or something like that.
They're traveling. They're traveling. They're not home, or they have a second house, or whatever. They're visiting family, whatever that is. You could be anywhere right now. I wish I could travel with my DX sometimes and put it in my suitcase.
Right.
Cisco, if you're listening, I need a little mini to go with me.
You have to take
it is out.
But. The Desk Mini is actually pretty portable, and it would maybe work for that. It would. I don't know. There's some people who've taken it with them. It's a 15-inch screen and little handle on the back. You just plug it in and jump on the Wi-Fi, and away you go.
Cool.
1080p video experience. So might have to.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can get you one.
So that was a new product we at Cisco came out with. We work on Desk Pros. These are bigger monitors. I don't know the exact sizes. I'm looking at this, but. Obviously, Adam just talked about a smaller unit coming out, and those. Hopefully, we can all travel with them. But
they're shipping now.
Yay!
So get your name on the list.
I'm going to. But just talk about hybrid work and what maybe an executive listening to this. What should they be thinking about? Maybe something they could look from an ROI perspective. Maybe they have different platforms, right? Maybe they want to consolidate. So, kind of talk about that for a second.
I would think about the flexibility, right? Folks are going to be working wherever they want to work. And the worker is sort of demanding that flexibility, right? Because there's so many places that do offer that today.
That's true.
That, there's a lot of competition for the right talent for your organization. So a hybrid workforce is it's not the end of the office. It's also not the beginning of working remote exclusively. I think we need that human connection and the ability to get together, but also the flexibility to work how we want to work and, work remotely when we need to and those types of things. I think that's really what hybrid work is flexibility. And really it's opportunity, right? Because working from other places might be more inspirational for a particular person, a little more relaxing, a little more, flexible. They want to be around for their kids that get off school early, whatever it might be. I think the old definition of work-life balance is how much time you got off and when you took it. I think the new definition is more flexibility, right? The ability to just stop what you're doing.
That's an awesome thing to think about. Yeah.
Yeah, even just a couple minutes, right? And say hi to the kids when they get home, or be able to
I try to hide from my kids, but it's fine.
Hit you with the hybrid work, right?
Right.
Whatever it is.
I'll see you on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
The ability for the employee to kind of define that for themselves.
That's a really good point.
Is really what it comes down to.
Right. And if you're joining from a cell phone or you're joining from your computer, there shouldn't be any barriers on scheduling meetings, joining meetings, and then being present in a meeting. You could be present anywhere you want. right? You could put high level parameters in place and then go from there, right? Everyone can find you.
Right.
Trust me, they can all find you.
Exactly.
As these employees. Talk about some of like the fun features of the platform. You know, some of these, we talked a little of the fun things we use, but what are some of like the cool features that, you know, maybe as, you know, me just kind of using the platform and not being in depth in the platform and understanding the back end, I should know about?
Sure. Well, one that's actually in use right now is noise cancellation, because my kids are literally in the next room
No way.
going crazy. So
I know that, but not everybody knows that. So you can't hear a dog barking anymore, or you can't hear an ambulance go by. I mean, it's a huge game changer that not everyone notices or know that we built it into the platform, and it comes standard, right? It's not something that you have to buy. So that is that is cool. I always forget about that. I feel like it should be like that. So I always forget that we actually have it built in. What else do we have? What else was cool that we use all the time?
You know, it's funny because I use this stuff. I got to think about it a little bit. We have Slido for polling, which is a really great. That's great in meetings to just break the ice, right? When you're meeting with a group of people for the first time, or it's like early on Monday, and you know everybody's a little reluctant to turn video on or whatever, right? You can throw something out there. How was your weekend in one word, right? The whole way down to more of business use cases,
right? And that's an engagement, right? Engaging the folks on the phone. It's Monday, right? Like Adam said, no one really wants to be on video on Mondays, right? And so how do you just kick off like an engagement? How do you engage workers at home, or someone you're meeting with? So that is a fun,
right?
That's a fun little kickoff.
Exactly. Well, and the thing with hybrid work is it does give you the opportunity to hide, right? So you need something like that to really draw they might be the most talented person on the call. You got to draw them into the conversation.
That's
right?
a very good point. Maybe I should put on, hey, did you subscribe to my podcast, the Motivity Podcast with Danielle? I'm going to put that on every one of my meetings now.
There you go. You should, because I got to listen to a few. It's good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you. Listen, I work with amazing people like yourself, Adam, and we're kind of all in silos, right? Working in different divisions at this company. And that's kind of my goal, is to, have listeners listen to you guys to get advice about businesses, just about technology, about what goes on, fun things that we work with every day. I feel like we're kind of spoiled, right? I mean, we work so fluidly, we're spoiled. And the fact that I get these beautiful endpoints we can work on, I mean, I don't have any barriers. I mean, my calendar's a mess, but that's besides the point. I mean, my calendar's a mess because I have so many meetings, but that's besides the point. But listen, work gets done when you collaborate, right? And collaboration is key.
Exactly.
Any other fun things? Oh, another fun thing is the analytics, right? Talk about the analytics. It shows you how long we've been on meetings. Not that anyone's really watching it from a big brother standpoint, but also maybe from a burnout standpoint, right? Like if you see me on meetings hours and hours and day, someone who, is my direct manager might look at that data and say, hey, probably Danielle needs a break, or maybe I should check in with her. Maybe I should see how she's doing. I'm seeing that she's just jam-packed day after day. So that's another key thing, in full transparency. I'm on video a ton, but it would tell you if I wasn't on video. I just happen to be on video. It's just kind of how I work. But someone did say I wasn't on video a lot, like an internal person. And so the funny thing is you could like literally pull the analytics and see what we do. Exactly. But anything else like behind the scenes, right? Well, I know what we could talk about. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say the analytics. So I did get to play with that more recently, and it's almost like a personal sanity check as well.
Yeah,
right? Because you mentioned your calendar. It will tell you like, hey, you should consider scheduling some time for yourself. And you put a calendar block that's just you.
Yep.
It'll say, congrats, you finally.
It says like who you meet with the most, like on the team. So I meet with my SE the most, which is valid. But it also kind of reminds you like, oh, I probably need to meet with that other person. Like it tells you if you haven't met with a team lately. You could talk about, hey, Webex. Hey, Webex. Don't launch it yet. But hey, Webex.
I know. I have video endpoints in my office, but if you can ask like, hey, WX, start my meeting, right? It will follow those commands. You can change the volume. You can actually now, from an integration perspective, this is kind of the propeller head stuff, but you can build your own integrations, right? So you could ask it to order coffee or order lunch for everyone. You'd have to build it. There's some stuff that's
What?
already built out there, but it's some cool stuff. I mean, it's like Alexa,
Yeah.
sort of, right?
Yeah, of course.
But in a different way. So
Can it tell the
there's some
UPS
cool
driver to
stuff
come
you
to
can
my
do.
house and drop off my Rent the Runway package?
I'm sure we could probably work that out.
That would be cool. Yeah. What else can you do? I'm like, ooh, what else can you? Oh, that's another thing. You can on the endpoints, right? We could change the background. Adam and I right now have our office, but you could put our company logo behind us. I could put my podcast or Cisco. I could put anything like as a green screen. So that's another cool
Exactly.
feature.
Yeah. Personalize that space and take away the distractions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could come up with a baccround that's maybe more distracting too, just for fun. But it's a lot of it's fun, but yet practical.
Right. Anything else that we any other little features that we should bring up?
We do have the obviously in a meeting. I think we've had this for a long time, but the ability to raise your hand. There's also now reactions, right? So a smiley face, a laughing face, right? Thumbs up, thumbs down, those types of things. There's even in events, there's a what is it? A rabbit and a turtle. So if it's like, hey, this is going way too slow, put the rabbit and it pops up.
I love that.
Come on, let's speed it up.
But wait, the gestures, you can just put your hand up now. It could read your hand gestures. That I found out yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah, the hand gestures you can like thumbs up, thumbs down, like a applause, those types of things. So that's it's kind of fun. I mean, the video endpoints are smart enough to just recognize that and do it for you.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely cool. Definitely easy to use and certainly fun. They do bring an element and something for us to talk about, right? Like we love this technology and, even when I go into a client and they have our endpoints, it's so easy because I don't have to plug in. It knows I'm in the room. There's proximity. I mean, I have no wires. I always forget my wires. So I'm not the best with that.
Exactly. Well, and for your listeners, proximity is one of my favorite features. You can, the old days of, do I need an HDMI or, God forbid, VGA or DisplayPort or whatever it is to share your screen now is just, part of the app, right? Your laptop detects the video endpoint and you can just click share screen and it does it wirelessly
away you go.
for you.
Mm-hmm. And you can do it from your cell phone too. That's another cool thing. If you're on your cell phone and you walk into a meeting room, you can transfer the call. You don't have to hang up the call. It just automatically would transfer to the endpoint. So that's awesome too. That's another, hot feature.
Exactly.
Anything else we didn't forget? We're just kind of.
Well, and I'll say a lot of this stuff is, like the proximity thing is, a lot of the older way of doing things is you had to be part of that domain of trust, right? It had to be your company's endpoint and your company's phone and you're logged into your company on the app. But a lot of this stuff works no matter where you go. So you could go to a customer site and you can still share your screen the same way as you did at Cisco or at ABC Corp or wherever. So the ability to work not only internally, right, and collaborate with your peers, but with folks externally as well, right? I mean, there's a lot of companies that have big partnerships and are going to market together. I think it's really important. And
that's true.
There's some other platforms out there that they try, but there's a lot of limitations. So it's really important to recognize that Webex has those capabilities built in natively without sacrificing, security and things like that.
And also like within Webex, you get different categories, right? You have event center and training center, meeting center, and I think we still have support center, right? So there's even functionality beyond just us meeting, right? And if you need certain features, they are available in the different centers. So that's another, key thing that we probably don't talk about all the time just because we're not trainers. We don't use the training platform or you need breakout sessions, like all that functionality is built into certain centers of the platform. But that does bring a good point, Adam. If there is use cases when, inside someone's enterprise that you do need to collaborate externally, come to us, bring us those use cases, help us understand the workflow. We're here. We could talk through it and help you define a strategy that really works and is open and has interoperability no matter what you're using today. But it is a story, right? It's not just a siloed approach. We always want to say, look at the whole journey of that employee or look at an external person coming into the organization. What does that look like, right? So there is different workflows and use cases they should think about. Anything else you want to add, Adam, about the platform. We talked a lot. Yeah, maybe talk about the network, our backbone, our network, how strong we are, right? Our uptime. I think that's a key piece too.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, without going too deep from a technical perspective,
don't take us deep.
Don't do it. Right.
Part two.
You got to reel me in. But the cool thing about the Webex backbone is it is global, right? There's private connectivity between the different data centers and things like that. So whether it's, we didn't talk a whole lot about calling, but meetings, messaging, all of that, kind of comes into the Webex network, whatever, wherever it's closest to you, based on, how quick the network connection is to that nearest point of presence. And then if you're working globally, which I know a lot of customers are, that's going to ride that traffic, or that data is going to ride the Webex backbone globally, right? Very high speed, very high bandwidth. And, the experience is great as well. So there's a lot of different ways that we optimize that. And of course, if for some reason there's a connection that's offline, you're going to go to the next best, right? There's a lot of resiliency built into it as well. If you can get there, if you can find Webex over the internet, you're in business.
Yeah, definitely. And again, no barriers on joining, right? So no worries joining a call, having call, if you need call-in numbers or, hitting our network, that's the beauty. We're going to be up. We're going to be there for you. We're going to make sure that the quality is excellent. And, there's a lot of security features built into this platform that we really didn't even deep dive into, but security is top of mind for everything that we do. We look at transport, we look at ISPs, we look at, where there's outages in the internet to make sure that we're routing traffic properly. I mean, we go to a very extensive level to make sure that the experience is top notch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, for anyone listening, if you guys want to reach out to Adam, or you want to bring him a use case that you think, you want his expertise on, Adam, they can find you on LinkedIn, I'm sure. So it's Adam Schaefer. I will make sure that I put his information in the description of the podcast, so you could find him. Adam, anything you want to say or plug about yourself?
Well, I will say another way you can engage is with me on YouTube. If you
awesome.
Guys want to check out the Tech Catalyst, be sure to hit that subscribe button, right?
Definitely.
Likewise, be sure to subscribe to Danielle's podcast as well, of course. But check me out on YouTube. What I do is I try to demo a lot of this technology in simple to understand, practical ways. There's some really technical stuff on there too, but there's a lot of just practical use cases, how to use breakout rooms, how to use video endpoints, how to kind of string 2 or 3 pieces of technology together, right? Like how to join a Microsoft meeting from a Cisco endpoint. I have a lot of that stuff out there, so definitely check it out. Engage in the comments and, let me know what else you want to see. And that's really where the video ideas come from, is if I answer the question a couple times, I'm like, I'm making a video of this.
Yeah, and maybe we talk about how to register an endpoint, how easy that is, right? So maybe we could do a demo. I don't know if that's on your Tech Catalyst, but
I think I have one like that. Yeah, how to simply name an endpoint, assign it to a location, and then grab the registering an endpoint is as simple as typing in a 16-digit security PIN, and it just does the rest for you. It's
plug
cool
and
stuff.
play. It's cool, definitely
Absolutely.
Cool stuff. So submit questions to us, or reach out to Adam or myself, and we're happy to do, a follow-up demo, or if you guys want to hear more about a topic that we talked about. I think Adam and I use this technology so much, it's probably more fluid for us, but we're happy to articulate and explain, if we didn't go into enough detail. Adam, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I love this conversation. I love talking about collab. I think, again, we have a great company here that allows us to be as fluid as we want to in this hybrid world. And any last comments, Adam?
Hey, have fun in the hybrid world, right? It's going to be different. We're going to figure it out. We're going to trip a few times doing it, but look for technology that's not a silo. That's all encompassing, right?
Definitely.
What can your business do to just give the users the experience the whole way around, whether they're remote, in person, on the beach somewhere, whatever it is.
Right. What can the technology do? How's the technology working for you? Right? Let it work for you the way that you need to. Don't let it have barriers. And I think that's a great place to end. So again, this is the Motivity Podcast with Danielle, and it was a pleasure having you listen to the show today. Adam, thank you, and have a great day, guys.